Hey everyone, it's Kristen with the Williams team in Austin. Hope you guys are having a great week. Just wanted to bring you the latest update on what's going on in housing and economic news that I'm following. So, I think many of you may know if you're tracking that the Fed met this week. So, they did approve a rate increase, which impacts the housing market too, right? It translates to how much does it cost to borrow money. And so, that has translated into mortgage rates. So those mortgage rates are right around 7.125, predicted to potentially go up from there. But that really wasn't a surprise. I think we all knew this was coming. And so it's just kind of this is going to happen. And the next question we're asking ourselves is, are they going to raise rates again? Or is this rate raise and increase going to slow down the economy and slow down jobs enough to where we, enter into a recessionary period? And at that point, then the Fed will start to lower rates, which will then come back and impact housing in a positive way because it'll be less expensive to get a mortgage. So that's too soon to say. I think there are some very optimistic people who say that will happen, and then there are some that say it's too soon to say. So I think at this point, I'm not going to make any calls because there are people way smarter than I on both sides of the fence. Not quite sure, but that said, rates are up. But I will say some positive news is that if you are looking to buy a home right now, there's still such a good opportunity because interest rates being high, we are still able to negotiate a rate buy down in many cases. Almost every buyer that we have put under contract in the last couple of months, we've been able to negotiate a sum of money that allows them to buy the interest rates down. So, what that does is it just basically makes your payment lower by having this large sum of money, about 20 grand, that hangs out in what is essentially an escrow account. And then the mortgage company is buying the rate down or making part of that payment to make it like the buyer has a lower rate for a period of time. It can be 1 year, it can be 2 year, it can be 3 years. So that really takes the impact of these higher interest rates and like lessens that blow. And it's been pretty easy to negotiate those deals. Plus, housing is so much less expensive right now because we're not paying these inflated values. Prices have come down pretty substantially. We don't have these competitive offers situations really hardly at all. I do hear of them from time to time, but it's a lot different than it was 8 months ago or 12 months ago or 14 or 18 months ago. So there really still is some good opportunity if you are thinking about buying because prices are down, you're not competing, and we're still able to negotiate so that your rate isn't quite as high as it actually is. So I hope that makes sense. And then just in perspective, like when Carter and I bought our first house, our first home that we lived in, rates were 6.5, and that was normal. And then when we bought our first investment property, I think it was 7.5, and that was again normal. So not that these rates are great. I mean, they have gone up quite substantially in a very short period of time, which is why there's been such a shock and it's really impacted housing. Yet in perspective, historical perspective, that wasn't too bad 12 years ago, 15 years ago. So that said, we're able to negotiate to help a buyer offset that higher interest rate. So it's kind of been great. It's kind of a little bit of the best of the both worlds, but there is a lot of fear out there. So if you don't have a stable job or don't have a stable income or don't have security in that, that's when it may not be the best time to buy. But if you have if all of those metrics are fairly certain, I think it's a really good time to be a buyer right now. So all that said, feel free to reach out. We have a great team of agents that will be happy to talk to you about your investment and buying and even selling strategy as well. So feel free to reach out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.